Let me start with a stat that should make you pause. Up to 1 in 5 athletes who return to sport after an ACL injury will re-injure their knee. And even more surprising, just over half of athletes ever return to their previous level of sport at all. Now here's what most people say the reason is. Fear of re-injury. Simple, clean, logical. But here's the thing. That explanation might be completely wrong, because according to a massive review analyzing 45 studies and over 600 athletes, what we casually call fear of re-injury is actually something much more complex. And if we misunderstand the psychology here, we might be solving the wrong problem in rehab. In physical therapy, we love simple explanations. Patient doesn't return to sport, fear of re-injury. But the research shows that this label is basically a catch-all bucket. Inside that bucket could be low confidence, anxiety, uncertainty, movement hyperawareness, catastrophizing identity concerns, and doubts about knee stability. So when someone says, "I'm scared to go back," they might actually mean 10 different psychological experiences. Think about the last time you drove on ice. Were you scared? Maybe. But what were you really thinking? Probably things like, I don't trust the road, I can't control the car. If I spin out, that's going to be expensive. What if someone hits me? That's not just fear. That's risk calculation. And athletes recovering from ACL injuries are doing the exact same thing. This is where it gets really interesting. The research found that athletes are constantly assessing the threat of re-injury. Not just feeling afraid, assessing. Almost like a real-time risk calculator running in the brain. And 3 things heavily influence that calculation. 1, their beliefs about what caused the injury. Some athletes think, I planned it wrong. I messed up. Those athletes often become hyper-focused on movement control. They obsess over landing mechanics. They replay the moment of injury over and over. Other athletes think, it just happened. And interestingly, those athletes sometimes feel less threatened, because they view the injury as random rather than predictable. 2, their beliefs about their knee. This one shows up constantly in clinic. Some athletes believe, my knee is fragile now. Others believe, my knee is stronger because it was reconstructed. Those beliefs matter, because if someone thinks their knee is fragile, every sensation becomes a warning sign. A little stiffness? Danger. A small pop? Something must be wrong. Pain during rehab? Maybe the graft is failing. Athletes literally described interpreting normal sensations as signals that the knee was under stress. 3, the meaning of re-injury. Here's what most people don't realize. For many athletes, the injury itself wasn't the worst part. The life disruption was. Missing a season, losing scholarships, losing identity, losing connection with teammates. So when athletes evaluate the risk of re-injury, they're not just thinking about pain. They're thinking about everything they could lose again. Now you might be thinking, okay, but some people clearly are afraid. Yes, fear exists. But what the research shows is that fear is usually just the surface emotion. Underneath, it is a deeper question. Is this worth the risk? And that calculation changes over time. How do you put this into practice? Clinicians, listen up. These concerns are constantly evolving. An athlete might feel confident in rehab, but then step onto the field and suddenly feel vulnerable. They might feel fine cutting during drills, but panic during unpredictable gameplay, because unpredictability is one of the biggest triggers for re-injury concerns. It's the difference between practicing a turn in the clinic versus reacting to a defender at full speed. And here's something clinicians and coaches need to hear. Communication matters a lot. Athletes reported that overly cautious messages like, be careful, don't push it, you don't want to tear it again, actually increased their perception of risk. But when clinicians emphasize progress, objective strength measures, and safe exposure to movement, athletes developed more positive beliefs about their knee. In other words, the story we tell athletes about their injury shapes the story they tell themselves. So if you're recovering from an injury or helping someone who is, here are 3 powerful strategies. 1, shift from fear to information. Instead of asking, are you scared? Ask, what specifically feels risky? Because that answer reveals the real barrier. 2. Build evidence for the brain. Confidence isn't built through motivation speeches. It's built through evidence. Progressive exposure, successful movement reps, measurable strength gains. Every successful experience rewrites the brain's risk calculation. 3. Rebuild identity. One of the biggest hidden drivers of re-injury concerns? Identity. Athletes aren't just returning to movement. They're returning to who they were before the injury. Helping them reconnect with that identity can be just as important as strength training. Here's the big takeaway. Returning to sport after injury isn't just a physical test. It's a psychological risk assessment happening in real time. Athletes aren't just asking, can my knee handle this? They're asking, is my life ready for this risk again? And once you understand that, rehab starts to look very different. If you found this helpful, do me a favor. Share this video with an athlete, coach, or clinician who still thinks the problem is just fear. Because the more we understand the real psychology of recovery, the better we can help athletes return stronger, smarter, and more confident than before. And if you want more evidence-based insights like this on pain, rehab, and performance, hit subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.
This is PT Pete. Catch you next time on It Is What Is.